Hi, this is Cameron. I'm back to make videos to show off my vinyl collection. I'm starting with the letter Z. So the first album in my collection of albums that start with the letter Z is the movie Z by Mikis Theodorakis. Here's the soundtrack. This came out in 1969. Next up, there's a big band album, Zacharias and his orchestra, Dance about Bossa Nova. Then a great movie which showed footage of James Gang. There's also music by Doug Kershaw, Country Joe and the Fish, New York Ensemble, Rock Ensemble, White Lightning, and Elvin Jones. It's Zachariah Ahead of His Time from 1971. Okay, now Andy Zachary, Whistler's Mountain. This is from the early 70s. It's a Canadian country album. And then a really good doo-wop band from Cuba from around the time of Fidel, around the time of the revolution, Los Zafiros. There's a good documentary of them that came out a few years ago. Then a Czech album by Hanna Sagarova. This is on a Superphone label from 1973. Zager and Evans, 2525 Exordium in Terminus. This came out in 1969. Famous song in the year 2525. And another album by Zager and Evans from 1970, self-titled. Great garage band from the 60s from Texas, the Zachary Thax. This is a early 1980s reissue on Moxie. And another Zachary Thax album on Eva, released in the early 80s as well. And on the back, there's a whole story about the label. The J. Beck story. This is part 2. Now, what collection would be complete without a Zamfir album? Mine is called La Doina Romanian. And this is actually a little bit more authentic Romanian music rather than the duos with all sorts of other artists. A German singer-songwriter by the name of Frank Zander. Zander's Born. This came out in the early 70s. I have a couple of Frank Zappa albums and the Mothers of Invention. Just another band from LA. This came out in 1972. followed up in 1973 by Overnight Sensation. Then a Mexican album, an orchestra conducted by Chucho Zarzosa in a Mexican garden. I like having a lot of ethnic music in my collection. Okay, I don't know if this was an objectionable cover in another video, but it was I was asked to take down a video. So Alexander Zelkin, Pessimist, doesn't show any nudity at all, but things can surprise us, the tastes of different people. Then next up is Zeneman. Just change my cheat sheets. Zeneman is a classical guitarist originally from Bolivia, later based in Brazil. This is from the 1980s. Then a German harder rock band, Zino, from 1986. He's the brother of Uli John Roth, German album. Again, I don't know people's tastes. I have a Cy Setner album from the 60s or 50s, and I think it's from the 1962, called The Stripper. So again, I'll cover this up. Then an album featuring John Cipollina, Zero, from 1986. Electronic band from the late 90s, 07, In the Waiting Line. I like to always try out newer music when I have a chance, although I have to admit I am stuck in older ways of the 60s and 70s. Monica Zetterlund, jazz artist, originally from Sweden with the Thad Jones Mel Lewis Orchestra. The album is called It Only Happens Every Time. This is from 1973. Next up, I got a great deal in Paris where I picked up 50 Francophone, Caribbean, and African albums. This is a Caribbean one. I got 50 of them for €50. So this was €1. This is Zikak, and it's Zouk music from the French Caribbean. From 1971, a Canadian folk artist, Laurie Zimmerman. Zinnober, which is a German rock band from 1985. Then a band, I don't know if this was a controversial one, it's out of Soviet Union, called Zodiac Music in the Universe. Then there's the Zodiac Cosmic Sounds, which have a song for each sign of the zodiac. This came out in 1967. This one's a little bit rougher shape. So I'll have to look for a replacement copy in the future. The Zombies live on BBC 1965 to 67. This came out in the 80s on Rhino. Saw the Zombies when they did their 50th anniversary reunion. Colin Blunstone's voice was fantastic despite the cold that he claimed to have. Rod Argent was smoking as well. Then I think out of Europe, a jazz rock band called Zoo, 1971, I believe, or 1969? 1969. On Barclay label. Then out of South Africa, Philemon Zulu, How Long, Zulu Jive. Zulu Records compilation from 1980s, early 80s. With Pink Industry and several other artists. Out of Canada, a band called Zywina, Rainbows, Dreams, and Fantasies from 1971. Zebra, which is sort of a prog rock band from 1975. Panic. And finally, a common album in many collections, ZZ Top's Eliminator from 1983. So that's my Z collection. I hope you've enjoyed it. I'm going to continue on featuring videos, working my way down to the letter A. Leave your comments at the bottom. Look forward to hearing from you. Have a good day. Bye-bye.